Yeah, we're live. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us from anywhere in the world. I'm quite excited to be here today. We're doing this for taxation, exam success tips. This is brought to you by Starry Academy. I hope you are having a wonderful day. For those who are just joining, you please leave your name, where you are joining us from on the right hand side of the screen. You'll see the chat box there. So if you are joining us, just joining us, your name and where you are joining us from, and then we'll be able to acknowledge your presence. Then, if you are using your smartphone, just look below. You'll see the chat box there. Then you can go ahead and leave your name and where you are joining us from, and then we can go right into today's program. Okay, so our facilitator is ready, so I will be handing over to him. All right, so Adebisi, over to you now. So I'll be
All right.
interrupting you once in a while, once somebody join and leave their details, so that we can acknowledge their presence. Okay, so over to you, please. You can go ahead and share your screen and start your delivery.
Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you to ICAN exam webinar for taxation skills level, powered by Starry Academy. Hope you are doing great wherever you are joining us from. So today we'll be looking at taxation for skills level, and our objective today is to enable our students understand and appreciate effective time management, reviewing, understanding, and analyzing question requirements for all our students at the end of this webinar. You should be able to understand and appreciate what effective time management is all about, reviewing, understanding, and analyzing question requirements carefully, and finally structuring answers to earn more marks. All right, so going forward, we have to understand how questions are being asked in the examination. We need to know what our examiner is actually demanding from us to do when we are being asked a question in the examination. So we have a lot of words here where we'll be dealing with one after the other today to let us know what exactly this word is talking about. If you are being asked to analyze, if you are being asked to discuss, we need to know what exactly the examiner is actually expecting from us. So the words you are seeing on your screen presently are what we have been able to come up with to break down to every one of you joining us live, so that you can actually is being accessed, calculate, comment, compare, conclusion, criticize, divine, describe, and so on, as you can see it on your screen.
All right, so if you're just joining us, just leave your name and your where you are joining us from on the comment section, and then we'll acknowledge your presence. So remember that the exam is all about questions. So what we are trying to explain as part of this webinar is verb, the verb that the examiner use in when they tell you required, when and they give you different verbs. And as we all know or may know, in English language, verbs are action words. So you are expected to understand them if you're going to answer the question very well. All right, you can go on. Over to you again, Adebisi.
So now we have understanding the question. That is, when answering an exam question, it is important to consider the question requirement carefully to understand exactly what is being asked. Like we all know that to answer a question, you actually be given a verb to actually demand what you are required to give as an answer. So imagine you have, for instance, an exam requirements whereby you are being asked to analyze. This exam will be requiring that it entails breaking the question into separate parts. ensure you discuss and interpret each part. And lastly, relate the exam question to your scenario provided. This is what the exam is requiring of you when you are being asked to analyze. So now let's take a look at this exam type question. Analyze three conditions precedent for the issuance of a TCC. I believe you all know what TCC is all about. By now, you should know what TCC is all about. TCC is your tax clearance certificate. So the examiner is asking you that analyze three conditions that must be met before we can issue out a TCC. So what the word here, the action word here is what? Is analyze. And to analyze means to break the question into separate parts to ensure that you discuss what conditions are being precedented for the issuance of what? Of a TCC. So you need to analyze this by what? Breaking it down into separate parts, ensuring that you discuss each of the points, each of the conditions you want to give, and what? Explain it in separate parts and interpret it in such a way that it relates to what the examiner is demanding from you in the question. All right, we have another word here.
Yeah, David, say you are
Which,
frozen. I think your internet is fluctuating. I don't know. You might need to check it. All right, go ahead, please. All right, if you are just joining us, please leave your name and where you are joining us from by the on the comment section. Yeah, Moses from Lagos. You are welcome. If there are other people, please leave your name and where you are joining us from so I can acknowledge your presence. Okay, go ahead, Adebisi.
all right, sir. So another word here is apply. Exam requirement is for you to entails you putting into action the law requirement in a given case scenario. You are going to relate the authority you have used with the facts of the case. Now let's take a look at this exam type of question. Withholding tax is a tax deducted at source from proceeds made to a taxable person for the supply of goods and services. It is not another form of tax, but simply an advance payment of tax. Source is offset against any subsequent tax liability that may be due in respect of the income. Required: A. Apply the content of withholding tax returns and payment schedule. So now, this is an example of a question you can be given in an examination where you are being asked to what? To apply. To apply here means you putting into action the law requirements in a given case scenario. Now, the scenario here, the scenario we have here is what? Withholding tax as as a type of tax. So you are going to relate the authority you have used with the facts of the case. That is what we are talking about here is withholding tax. So whatsoever requirement you are being asked to do, you have to relate it in such a way that it should be talking about withholding tax that is being given in this case. The question is what? Apply the content of withholding tax returns / payments schedule. So to apply here means to put into action all law requirements in a given case scenario as it relates to what? To withholding tax. So what the examiner is demanding of you here is to what? There's this schedule you have to upload on the FIRS Tax Promise platform before you can be able to what? File and remit your withholding tax. So it is that schedule the examiner is demanding that you what? You apply the content of withholding tax returns and payment schedule. That is that schedule, whatever it is that is embedded in that schedule. Is it the name of the taxpayer? Is it the TIN of the taxpayer? Is it the contract amount, the tax amount, or the transaction amount, or the reference? That is what is being required of you. Yeah, the content schedule. Another word here is access. Exam requirements. This entails determining the strengths, weaknesses, importance, significance to the given question. Exam type question. Assess the impact of COVID-19 in the 2020 financial year of a business. So now what the examiner is requiring of you here is to what? To assess the impact of COVID-19 in the 2020 financial year of a business. This entails determining the strengths, the weaknesses, the importance, significance to the given question. Here, we want to know the impact of COVID-19. It has some strength in it, it has some weaknesses in it, it has some importance, it has some significance in it. So the question here is demanding that you relate it to what? To the 2020 financial year of a business. That is, what impact does COVID-19 give or gave to you, to the financial year of a business, by what? By telling us the strengths, the weaknesses, the importance, and the what? Significance. So let's proceed.
All right. Before we proceed, I want to welcome Ifemide. Ifemide, thank you for joining us from Lagos. Ifemide, thank you for joining us from Lagos. Okay, Ifemide, welcome. So if you are there in the chat box, please indicate by telling us where you are joining us from, your name and where you are joining us from, so that we can welcome you. All right, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Legacy.
Okay, fine. Okay, so we've talked about apply, we've talked about access. So now let's proceed to the next word we have. So another word here, which is a verb that is demanding from us to what? Do something, is what? Is calculate. Exam requirement here entails computing using mathematical process of determining the value of an outcome. So this is what the examiner is requiring of you to do whenever you are being asked to calculate. Let's see another type of exam question. Adedayo made a sales of 100,000 naira contract amount. Calculate the output VAT. Like we discussed in the class on our Telegram page, we discussed about value added tax. So and we have two types of value added tax, which is what? The input VAT and the output VAT. Like I said during our class, output VAT is what? Is a VAT that is charged based on the what? Goods and services sold. That is when you make a sales of any goods or services, what? Output VAT on it, and input VAT is on what? Purchase of goods or services. So now this question is demanding us to what? To calculate the output VAT, because Adedayo made a sales of what? 100,000 naira contract amount. So the requirement for you here is to what? Is compute using mathematical process of determining the value of an outcome. So all you need to do is to what? Apply your VAT rate on the contract amount of 100,000 naira to get your what? To get your actual output VAT for this exam type of question. So this is what the examiner is requiring of you to do. It entails computing using mathematical process of determining the value of an outcome. Comments. Exam requirement. This entails including an explanation, illustration, or criticism in your answer. That is, if you have been asked to comment on a particular scenario, after you must have calculated your whatever it is you have been asked to calculate. So the examiner might give you another point whereby you are being asked to comment on what you have calculated. So what it entails is that you have to include an explanation or illustration or criticism in your answer. Another word here is what? Compare. Exam requirements. This entails explaining the similarities and differences. That is, to compare means to what? We want to know the similarities, we want to know the differences between something and another thing. So let's look at another exam type of question. tax avoidance and what? Tax evasion are distinguishable. Required. State the distinctions between tax avoidance and what? Tax evasion. Like we all know, we've discussed this in class. So what the question here is, the examiner is requiring of you here is to what? To what? It entails explaining the similarities and the differences between what? Tax avoidance and what? And tax evasion. You know that when you evade tax, it is an illegal act. And when you avoid tax, it is avoiding that particular tax. But tax evasion, you already know that tax evasion is what? Is a crime and it's illegal. So these are some distinctions you need to what? To show your examiner when answering this type of question where you are being asked to what? Compare. It entails what? Explaining the similarities and the what? The differences between the what? Whatever it is you are being asked to ask. But in this kind of scenario, we have tax avoidance and what? Tax evasion. Another word there is conclusion. Exam requirement. This entails ending your answer well in a case scenario. It entails what? Ending your answer well in a case scenario. You just criticize. The examination requirement here is to what? This entails analyzing a situation to identify all weaknesses, problems that exist. Note, do not explain situation. Criticize in an examination. What it entails you analyzing all problems that exist in that particular case or in that particular scenario where you're being asked to what? To criticize. Another word here we have is what? Divine. This word is something that is very, very common where that you meet in the examination and you're being asked to divine what, divine this, divine that. This entails giving meaning to a question. Ensure to keep it short and what? And relevant. We can see an exam type of question here where you are being asked to what? Divine tax, fee, fines, and what? And penalties. So what the examiner is demanding of you here is to what? It entails you giving a meaning to this, giving a meaning to what tax is all about, giving a meaning to what fee is all about, giving a meaning to what fines is all about, and giving a meaning to what penalties is all about. So you have to what? Ensure that you are keeping it short and what? Relevant. Describe examination requirements. This entails giving a detailed account of qualities or features. That is, if you are being asked to describe in an examination, what the examiner is requiring of you is to what? It's to what? Give a particular. Another word we have is describe. It entails giving a detailed account of qualities or features. Okay, I think I've talked about this before now.
All right.
But we can
Thank you
see another
very
exam type
much.
of question. Okay.
Thank you very
Yes, sir.
much. Ade, thank you for joining us from Lagos. Ade say I can't hear sound anymore. Ade, can you hear us now? Please indicate in the chat box if you can hear us. Um, please indicate in the chat box. If you cannot hear us, you can just refresh the screen, refresh your browser, and then it should go on. I can hear the lecturer, so obviously the stuff is coming out well. Okay, go on, DBC.
Okay. All right. So another word here we are talking about is describe. This entails giving a detailed account of qualities or features. Like I explained before now, when you're being asked to describe it in an examination question, it means you have to give a detailed account of that particular subject matter. It means you have to give us the qualities or the features of that particular subject matter. Here you have an exam type of question which is talking about the tax. What the examiner is requiring of you here is to what? Give us a detailed account of what proportional tax is all about. What are the qualities? What are the features? What are those attributes we can see when we talk about proportional tax? So these are what the examiner is demanding or requesting you to what? To give in detail when you are what? Answering your question in a scenario of what? Having the word describe. Another word here we have is discourse. Exam requirements. This examining in detail using arguments about the pros and cons of an issue. Exam type question. A company makes a loss when its allowable operating expenses exceeds its total revenue or earnings. Required. Discuss. You are being asked to discuss here. It means what? The examiner is expecting that you what? You give a detailed using arguments about pro and cons of an issue. That is, in this kind of scenario now, we have what? Discuss, carry forward, loss relief. The examiner wants you to argue the what? The pros and the cons of this particular what? Carry forward loss relief. That is, what are the advantage you have in order to what? To enjoy what? A carry forward loss relief. And what are those things that it's more like a disadvantage, or these are both subject matter of what? Carry forward loss relief. When you're being asked to discuss, it means what? To detailedly give us an argument about the pros, or let me say about the advantage and disadvantage of a particular what? Issue. Let's proceed. Another word we have here is what? Evaluate. Exam requirements. This entails the word an argument for and against. Ensure you mention evidence to support your evaluation. Exam type question. Evaluate the following. A. 5 taxes collectible by the federal government. B. 5 taxes/levies collectible by the state government. C. 10 taxes and levies collectible by the what? By the local government. So if you are being asked to evaluate in an examination question, this entails determining the scenario in the light of the arguments for and against. Ensure you mention evidence to support the evaluation. So now we have been asked to evaluate the following. A. 5 taxes collectible by the what? By the federal government. So what the examiner is demanding that you do here is to what? You have to what? Determine the scenario. Like for taxes collected by the federal government, we have VAT, we have CIT, we have withholding tax, we have capital gain tax, and all of that. So the examiner is expecting that you what? You will not just list all of these things. You have to put it in this kind of what? Another word here is what? List. We are being asked to list in an examination. What is the examiner requiring of you? Exam requirements. This entails outlining several ideas, aspects, events, things, and qualities. Note, do not explain the situation. Most of the time during my ICAN period, whenever I see any question that has to do with list something, list this, list 5 types of this, list 5 types of disadvantage of this, I always love to what? To give answers to those questions because it's very, very straightforward and what? Easy to go, easy to answer. So let us look at this exam type of question. You will see that you are being asked what? List 5 dividends exempted from what? From withholding tax. This is very, very simple. You don't need to explain anything. Just go straight to the point. List number 1, list number 2, list number 3, and list number 4, and then list your number 5 to ensure that you are very, very straightforward to what you are being asked to do. You don't need to explain any, you don't need to do any I too know here. You don't need to show your show that you know how to explain it. The examiner is not demanding you to explain or to give any explanation to what you are being listed. What the examiner is just requirements. You are being asked to just list. You don't need to explain. You don't need to give any further notes to what you are being asked to list. Just list and then know that you're done with that. Now, another word here is what? Explain. Exam requirements. This entails making the answer clear, putting it with enough details that are relevant, concise, and explanatory. Like I said before, when we were talking about the list, when you're being asked to list, you don't need to explain anything. Being asked to explain, the examiner will tell you list and explain. But if you are not being asked what list and explain, what the examiner is just requiring of you to just list. So just list whatever it is you have been asked to list without explanation. But where you have explain in this kind of exam requirements, let's take a look system with the Nigeria, among other things, with the enactment of what Finance Act 2019 and 2020. Many enabling acts were amended. The tax system usually involves a tripartite aspect, namely the tax policies, the tax law, and the what tax administration. Required, explain tax policy. This is very, very, very straightforward. So what the examiner here is requiring of you is what? Just explain what tax policy is all about. It means it entails making the answer clear, supporting it with enough details that are relevant, concise, and what? Explanatory. You don't need to go outside what tax policy is all about. If you are being asked to what? Explain tax policy, you don't need to what? Explain tax administration in it. All you are being asked to do is what? Explain tax policy and what? Make it relevant, make it concise, and what? Make it very explanatory to your what? To your examiner. Another word here is what? Outline. Requirement. Outline. What the examiner is demanding of you is what? You might first of all like give a list of what you are being asked to outline. After giving that list, you then explain it one after the other. That is all about. It means entails explaining the highlighted points stated. Let's take a look at this exam type question. Outline the merits and demerits of VAT. Outlines the demerits and merit of what? Of VAT. So what the examiner is requiring of you is what? This entails explaining the highlighted points stated. That is, you come with your what? Merit of VAT, which is the first thing you have to deal with. You give a list of what the merit of value-added tax is all about. Once you are done with the list, then you begin to what? Explain it one after the other. We know that value-added tax is a what? Is a source of income to the what? To the government. So that's the first list you have given in your what? Merit of VAT. So when you are done with the list, you then come down and what? Explain each of those lists you have listed above and what? Give it a short explanation, which means it entails explaining the highlighted points as stated in your what? In your outline for what? Merit of VAT and what? Demerit of what? VAT. Another point here is what? Recommend. Recommend. Exam requirements. This entails giving advice. When you're being asked to recommend, you can most of the time you see this in a what? In a case study question. I could remember the case study. There's no way you are asked to what? Write a report in an ICAN paper. Even in taxation, you can be asked to what? Answer a question in form of a report and what? Give recommendations and what? Conclusions. So if you are being asked to what? Recommend, it means what? This entails giving advice. Giving advice based on the what? The report you must have written or based on the above case study you have what? You have been able to like talk about. So if you are being asked to what? Recommend, this entails you advising, giving an advice to the what? Based on the scenario at hand. Let's look at this exam type question. Taxable supplies of goods and services are those listed under the what? First schedule of the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 4, Cap 6 for 2004 as amended. Essentially, these are goods and services liable to value added tax as the described rates. Required, recommend when goods shall be deemed to be supplied in Nigeria in tax. And what you're being asked to do is what? Just give an advice of what? When goods and services shall be deemed to be what? Supplied in Nigeria in accordance with what? Section 2 of VAT Act as amended. So before you be able to like answer this question, you need to know what the section 2 of VAT Act is what it's all about. Not that you just assume and begin to give your advice. You need to know what the section of that particular VAT Act is talking about before you begin to give your advice based on what you have been asked to recommend on in this kind of exam type question. Another word here we have is states. Exam requirement. This entails explaining by focusing on the exact points. This entails explaining by focusing on the what? Exact points. Exam type question. States the penalty for late filing of tax returns on the due date. States the penalty for late filing of what? Of tax returns on the due date. That is what the examiner is requiring of you is to what? Explain by focusing on the exact points. You don't need to focus on those irrelevant points. Based on the what question you're being asked to treat. Sets the penalty for late filing of tax return on the due date. That is, what are the exact penalty? What are the exact points as penalties for you when you file your tax returns late after the due date? So all of these things, these are what the examiner is expecting of you to do here, and state by explaining and focusing only on the what exact points. Another word we have here is what? Summarize. Summarize. Exam requirements. This entails giving a brief, condensed solution conclusion. Avoid unnecessary details. This is usually common in a case study questions. So, like I said, in a case study question, the first thing you will see is what? Give an executive summary. So in your executive summary, for instance, the examiner is not expecting you to say too much. In fact, your executive summary should not be a maximum, let's say 2 pages. It entails details, and this is usually coming in when you have a case study.
Sorry, it's like you froze a little, but you are okay now. I wanted to just come in and say maybe your internet again is frozen coming in. Okay, just you can continue. I can hear
okay
you
now?
clearly. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay,
All
sir.
right.
Okay,
Carry
sir.
on.
Okay, sir. So when you're being asked to summarize, this entails giving a brief, condensed conclusion. Avoid unnecessary details. This is commonly used in case study questions. If you're being asked to summarize, the examiner is not asking you to explain and elaborate. Just give a summary. Out of your summary, I should be able to know what the main body of your report, for instance, or the main body of your case study is all about. When I read your executive summary, I should be able to know what the main report is all about. That is what a summary is all about. It's just giving a brief, a condensed conclusion, and avoid unnecessary details. All right, now we move to the effective time management. All right, so effective is crucially the best use of the time available. Effective time management is very, very important. It's something that you should not joke with. I always like to go into the examination or with my wristwatch, just for me to be very, very conscious of time. But now I learned that you cannot even enter ICAN examination with a wristwatch because it is now prohibited into the examination hall. But I'm very, very sure that when you enter your examination hall, you will see a wall clock positioned in any angle of that examination hall. So it is something that you can actually work with that, okay, on this particular question 1, I don't want to spend more than 30 minutes on it. On particular question 2, I don't want to spend more than 20 minutes on it. So you should be able to manage your time even with the work clock you're being provided with in an examination hall. Timing, the exam time is always what? A 3-hour paper. The question will be in 2 sessions as follows. Session A, This will consist of what? 20 compulsory multiple choice questions. But for this skills level, you will not come across multiple choice questions. So, but in your section A, it will come. You have a scenario of 2 or 3 questions, whereby number one will be very, very compulsory, and number two, you can answer number one will be very, very compulsory, and then you can also have what? Another one to add to your what? Compulsory questions. And then in your section B also, you'll be asked to what? Answer any 4 questions, whereby you'll be able to like pick out of the list of questions you will have left. You can pick any 4 that you know, and you're expected to answer 4 questions. 30 minutes per question.
All right, thank you very much. So, um, because in the last exam now, it's now 3 sessions: session A, session B, and session C.
See, yes.
So during my own session, I will share a live question for us to see. But all the same, the principle is still the same. Read the instruction. So this was for previous exams. But the current exam now are 3 sessions. All right, you can go on.
The approach to planning your time for the exam is crucial for completing the exam and ensuring the best use of the time available. Requirement first. You should read the requirements of the question first before attempting the questions. That is, you need to know what you are being required to do. During my time writing the ICAN examination, I always prefer to what? I want to know the requirement before I even read the main questions. Because if you don't know the problem of a particular issue, you will not be able to like solve it. Let's go and know what they're asking us to do before you what read what the question is all about. So you should read your requirement of the question first before attempting the question. Scan through the question paper to see the questions that you can easily answer and write down some of the points as they are coming to your mind. You can do that at the back of your answer sheet or on the last sheet. This is very, very important. Once I get my question paper during my ICAN examination period, I will first look at the questions I can do. Those are the ones I will do first. Even your compulsory questions, your number one compulsory questions should not be something that you should do first. Do the ones you know very well. Do the ones you know very best before attempting even your compulsory question. Because the ones you know very well, you spend less time on it. But if you focus more on those hard ones or the compulsory questions, you get to waste more of your time there. But anyone you know best, anyone you know first, try to attempt those ones first before going to your what other compulsory questions. Time wasters. Don't waste too much time on a question. Make sure you allocate time to each question. When you exceed the allocated time for each question, skip that question and go to the next question. You can come back to that later. Like I said, effective time management is very, very important. You don't have more than 3 hours in the examination hall. So you should be able to like, okay, I want to answer 5 questions. I want to answer 4 questions. You should be able to like time yourself based on those questions you want to answer. If it's okay, question number one, which is very compulsory, I will spend 30 minutes on it. Question two, I will spend 20 minutes on it. Question three, I will spend 20 minutes on it. Question four, spend 20 minutes on it. And you should what? You should be able to like leave a little time for yourself to be able to like go through all that you have answered. Time wasters is not permittable in an examination. Ensure that you manage your time effectively and make it efficient for your exam purpose. Spacing. Leave enough space for the question you are not very familiar with or you did not remember at that moment. Yeah, this thing happens a lot in the examination or it has happened to me very well. Question that you will know the
The internet has your internet has had issue again. So please repeat that part. Question that you know the A, that's what I had you last, and I believe those that are here with us, that's what they had also. So go ahead, ADBC.
okay. So, like as I was saying, spacing is very, very important. Leave enough space for the question you are not very familiar with or you do not remember at the moment. That is, in the question, you might have question 1A, question 1B, question 1C. It's possible that you will know question 1A and then you will not know question 1B. It's possible that you will know question 1A and question 1C. Or it's possible that you know question 1B and question 1C and you don't know question 1A. So it is very, very important for you to what? Leave enough space. This thing has happened to me severally in the examination hall that I will know question 1A, I will not know question 1B. I will know B. So what I will do is the ones I know, I'll do that first and what? Leave enough space for the ones I do not know. By the time you are done with the one you do not even know, it's very, very important that you would leave enough space for questions you're not very, very familiar with or you do not remember at that moment. Because by the time you go back to the ones you know and you remember, before you are done with those ones, you'll be able to like remember the ones you don't know. Always start with the questions you can easily answer. This is very, very important. Always start with the what questions you can answer easily. How to maximize marks. How to maximize marks. Now, comments.
Hello, Adebisi. Sorry, I think I have mistakenly muted you. If you check up there, you can unmute yourself. If you check up. So I will take up from here. Yeah, you can check up there. You see a video, this thing, then you see a mic. Yeah, click on the mic. Yes. I think with that, now click on it again now to unmute. Click on it again. You have unmuted. My apology, I clicked the wrong place. So, yeah, you can stop sharing your screen. Then I can pick up from here on how to maximize your easy mark and all the rest in the exam. So you can stop sharing your screen. So first and foremost, I will do the clapping here for you. You did a very brilliant job. So if you are there in the comment section, please give Adebisi a hand of applause. He's a young, dynamic lecturer, a chartered accountant of great repute. So if you have followed up to this session, give us an emoji, give us a reaction in the comment section there. So, or is it only me and Adebisi that are talking to each other? So if you're in the comment section, I want to see your reaction. Don't be shy. Yeah, it's only your text you will see. So while I'm waiting for that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and then speak from my own end here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share with us how to get maximized time mark. All right. Thank you, Okpeyemi. You say you joined late, but all the same, you're welcome. So I'm sharing my screen. So Adebisi, if you can see my screen, please give me a feedback there. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Beautiful. So this is how the last exam looks like. That is the, yeah, Adebisi, you can mute if you are not speaking. So when I need your attention, then I will require you to unmute. So this is a typical exam question. Last direct question, the Institute of Chartered Accountant of Nigeria skill level examination, May 2022, taxation. Time allowed is 3¼ hours, including 15 minutes reading time, which means the exam is 3 hours, 15 minutes. 15 minutes is reading time. Okay. So there are, always read the instruction. That's the first thing you must do when you are going through this. Always read the instruction. So what should you do with this extra 15 minutes that has been given? You see here, they say it's reading time. It means you have to read through the question, but that is impossible for you to do within 15 minutes. See, so what are you to do with this 15 minutes? This you have to read through the other session. Remember that session 1 or session A is compulsory. So don't bother yourself reading through session A because you will not be using the 15 minutes effectively. So skip session A and go to section B within that 15 minutes, right? Come to your the session B. What does session B say? It say open-ended question, 40 mark. You are required to attempt any 2 out of 3 questions in this session, which means there are 3 questions in session B. You must attempt any 2, right? So let me go back to the requirements initially. I'm scrolling up again. It says instruction. You are required to attempt 5 out of 7 questions in this paper. So that means there are 7 questions, but you are required to answer or attempt 5 of them. That 5 session, you must answer the one you are required in the session. Session A is only 1 question. You must attempt that compulsorily. So if you remove that now, it means that we can now go to session 2. Session 2 here says answer any 2 out of 3. So if you answer 3 in this session, you have not followed the instruction. So what the examiner will do is that they will pick the best one that you have done in this session and they will cancel it. So you are not expected to do more than 2 that you have been asked to do here. So even if you know the answers, right? So I go on. The session C here says answer. Yeah, this is session C. The instruction says open-ended question. You are required to attempt any 2 out of the 3 questions in this session. So any 2 means 2, not the 3. So what happens if you know only 1 here and you know in session 2, session B, you know all the 3? Like I said earlier on, the examiner will cancel the 3rd one in that session 2, session B that you answered, and they will not give you mark for it at all. The best one is the one they will pick and cancel. This is what the examiner gave us as feedback during our interaction with them. All right. So back to how should you utilize a 15 minutes. So like Adebisi said earlier, when you are going to read through your question, don't start reading through the body of the question. Like question 2 here, don't start reading all of this. It wastes time. No, don't read all of this. Just go to the requirement. What is the requirement of this question 2? You say compute personal income tax accessible for each partner for the relevant year of assessment. So this is taxation of tax of partnership. So this is taxation of income tax for partners. So if you are going to answer this, you tick it. You are not going to start doing anything within the 15 minutes. You go to question 2 and read the requirement. So I scroll down here. Question 2 has children. Question 3 rather, not question 2. Question 2 is only 1 question. It doesn't have any children. Why question 3 has children? Child A, B, C. So the A part here say required, state the following: 5 taxes collectible by the federal government. I think Adebisi mentioned this one also. I don't know whether it's for state or local government, but this one is for federal government when he was doing his presentation. Now, B say 5 taxes or levy collected by state government, 5 taxes or levy collected by local government. This is easy mark. If I were to do this exam, and this is likely the one I will do first, all right? Okay, but like I said, you tick it if you are going to do that, and you go on and do the same for others. Now, having done that, you have itemized or you have identified the 5 questions that you want to answer. Once you have identified them, you start with the easiest one. Like Adebisi said earlier on, you start with the easiest. So how do you start with the easiest? So I'm going to still share my screen. This is my screen here. I will now assume that I want to start with question 3. Now, so I come back here. You see, question 3 here has A, B, and C, right? So in the exam, I'm going to show you, in the exam, assuming that you are starting with that, but you don't even know question 3A. What is question 3A? Question 3A say 5 taxes collected by the federal government. Assuming you don't know that one, and it's B and C you know, right? So you can go on. Or you want to even start with 3B or 3C. How do you do that? You go back to your question answer sheet. This is 3A here. So you write 3A here, right? Now, don't remember, if you are not doing 3, if you are not going to start with 3A, but you must put 3A here, don't come down here and start 3B, because when you start your 3A and you start writing later on, if it is 3B you want to start and you have already written down here, right, half of the page, then when you come back to 3A and you now find out that you need more space, then it will be difficult for you. So what students do here is that when they have already written 3B, they cancel it and go and rewrite it. That's waste time. So that's why I put here, don't start 2 questions on the same page. So what should you do? You put 3A here, you come back here to the next page, you put 3A continue. Why should you do that? In case your 3A that you started, you will need extra space. You go to the next sheet and put 3A continue. Then you come over here and you can now start your 3B here. You can now start writing your 3B. And if you write here, you still need more space, you come over here and continue your 3B here. Then when you finish, don't come here and say 3C. No, don't do that. Go to a new page again and start your 3C there. So if 3C have children, then you start 3C1, 3C2, if it has children, and 3C3. I hope we are following that. All right. So like he said earlier on, start with the easiest one. That's how you get easy marks. All right. Then you don't have to start with question 1 like I did here in my answer sheet. See, this is the very beginning of my answer sheet. I started here with 3A. So I will going to cancel this because I said you shouldn't start your 3B on the same sheet with 3A so that you can leave enough space, particularly if you are not starting 3A. If it is 3B, you want to start first so that when you come back and start 3A, you will have enough space for that. So you can see that I start here 3B, 3B continue, 3B, 3C, 3C continue. And if there's 3D, you put 3D on a new page and 3D continue. All right. So then the next one is question 5, which means I started another one as question 5. I did not necessarily start question 1 and go to 2 and mix them up. I mix them up. So remember that the question says that you should pick 2 from session 2, 2 from session B, and 2 from session C. Remember that. So when I go and say question 5 now, it means therefore that I'm already answering session C. So it doesn't matter what session you are answering. It doesn't matter what session you are answering first. Just make sure that you answer the question as you are required in the instruction. It doesn't. If you want to first do all the session 2 first, good luck. If you want to do sessions 3C first, good luck. If you want to mix them up, good luck. Anyhow you do that, it is irrelevant to the examiner. So, but just make sure you label your stuff very well. Okay. Now, I haven't said that. We'll now go to the next one. The next point here, that's how to use your 15 minutes. What about the 3 hours that you are given? Let's go back again to the question. The entire question allows you to use just 3 hours. I'm scrolling down up to the beginning of the question again. This is it here. 3 hours, 15 minutes. During your 15 minutes, you are not expected to start answering the question. You are only expected to go read through. Like I said, read only the requirement. Skip question 1 because it's compulsory. The 15 minutes is for you to sort out the other 4 questions out of 6 so that you can know the one you will go through, right? Okay. So how do you now handle these 3 hours that is left? That's what we'll be doing next. Time management inside the exam hall. All right. Remember that the question, this thing is 3 hours, right? So if we multiply 3 hours by 60 minutes, it will give us 180 minutes. All right, 180 minutes. Now, if we look at 180 minutes, we'll divide that by 100 mark. it means that we'll have 1.8 minutes per mark, per one mark, right? Per one mark, per one mark. Okay, so it therefore means that if a question is 10 mark, right, you should not spend more than 18 minutes on that question. So let's quickly go back to our question and see and do some brief this thing on how you should answer them. All right, so let me come back here. Okay, while that is opening up. Okay, now this question says, question one says 30 mark. And let me bring out my calculator. So you divide, you multiply. Remember what I said earlier on here. This is what I said here. 1.8 minutes per mark. So as I go back to my question here, this 30 mark, how many minutes should we spend? We say 1.8 times 30, right? 54 minutes. That's what you should spend in session one. Once it is 54 minutes, anytime you are doing this session one, you stop. If you are spending more time on it, more than 54 minutes, you're already eating the time meant for other session. Whatever you have done here is enough. Move to another question. Because remember the question, you must attempt the 5 questions. Make sure you touch all the 5 that you are required to do. So now let me go to that 30 mark that they gave you. How should you even allocate it? See, this is session 1, 30 mark. So it means that session A is 2 mark. So I come back to my calculator. 1.8 times 2. It means that you should not spend more than 3.6 minutes. When I was doing this exam, this extra 0.6 minutes, I will store it. I will not spend more than 3 minutes. Anything I'm doing in this session A, once it's 3 minutes, I stop. Then I go to the next one. How many minutes should you spend in the second one? 4 mark times 1.8. That is 7.2 minutes. I will not spend more than 7 minutes for this 4 mark question. And then this 6 mark question, I come back to my calculator again. 1.8 times 6, that's 10.8 minutes. I will spend just 10 minutes for this 6 mark question. Whereas this 18 minutes, I will go there again, 1.8 times 18. Then that's 32.4. I would only spend 32 minutes. Once 32 minutes is up, I go to the next question. You see those point something, 0.2, 0.3, 0.75 minutes, I'm storing them up. So if I am able to come back, if I finish everything and I can come back and continue the one I could not finish earlier on. So I hope that is making sense. So but for this particular question B, is just 20 mark. So 20 mark means 1.8 times 20. That means 36 minutes. Once 36 minutes is up, I won't go further on this. In fact, I'll use my pencil to write down the minutes I should spend if I'm going to do it. I'll write it by the side of each of this mark, and then I'll be watching the time. So I don't know whether they still permit you to wear watch to the exam, or somebody was telling me that they no longer permit that. So if you sit by the wall clock, if they have wall clock, that will be fine. If you can always ask the examiner for the time and guess it, that will also be fine. So, and if I think they don't allow programmable calculator. If your calculator has time on it, fine, utilize it. So this question 3 now has 5 mark for A, 5 mark for B, and 10 mark for C. So how will I have done it if I were the one? 1.8 times 5. I will not spend more than 9 minutes for the A, 9 minutes for the B, and 18 minutes for the C. And like I said, this is 20 full mark, one of the easiest ones to easily get. So question 4 has A and B, just A and B, 16 mark and 4 mark. So you multiply 16 again, 16 multiplied by 1.8. That means 28.8 mark a minute. So I will spend 28 minutes and store the 8.8 as excess. So I guess we get the point. So that's how you will run through this. That's how to manage your time. Then lastly, remember it says that you should attempt 2 here. Make sure you attempt at least 2, even if you don't know those 2. open open if it is question 6. If it is this session now has 3 questions and you know only one, then if the one you want to do here is question 5 and you don't know what question 6 and 7 is about, still go ahead and attempt it. In question 7, just put answer 7 there and then say explain tax policy. By that, you have attempted it. Make sure you attempt it. The reason why I said that is that sometime, eh, there are times where they give bonus to those who attempt that question. Time will not permit me to go into the history of why I said that, but I will just cut that. Just attempt. That's what the question is saying. If anything is wrong with that question, particularly if it is computation, if anything is wrong with that question, right? Maybe the marking scheme or whatever wasn't okay, they will just give bonus mark to those who attempted it. This has happened about 20 years ago. So when I was writing my ICAN exam, remember I qualified in 1997, right? And my lecturer then told us this thing, that look, there was something wrong with the marking scheme, and it was another marker that detected it. And when they found that, all the people who attempted that question, they gave them full mark. So if you never attempted it at all, well, that would be 0. So what I've just said now, please don't quote me anywhere. It's just for internal use here, because we're just guiding you to try and attempt it. But know that anything that human being is doing behind, anything that involves human involvement is prone to error, right? Even anything that human being is behind is prone to error. So having said that, I'll go to the next point here. I've already spoken about go for the easy mark, then maximize your time. I've spoken about that. Remember that you need only 50 mark to pass, 50% to pass. So attempt everything so that you will score that. Then the another one I want to mention here is don't leave blank space. So as you see, 4B continue, 4C continue. This is 4C, 4D, and so on. Then don't leave a blank space like this and go and do 2A if it is 2 you want to do. Why? The examiner or the marker might think that this is where your script ended. I'm going back here now. This is 4D, continue. So if you have a space here, you have left a space, please just write there, continue, next page. So don't leave any space, any blank sheet in between your answers. Okay. So having said that, then that is how you can maximize your time, and that's how you can maximize and get easy mark. Make sure you read the instruction and understand the instruction very well. So don't say there are 3 sessions. If you in this one I've just shown you, if you go into the exam hall and you find out that there are only 2 sessions, follow the instruction, please. Very, very important. So if you have questions, you can leave it in the session area. So I will stop sharing my screen now. Why Adebisi, you please share your screen so that we can move on to the next session. You can go ahead and share your screen. So if you have questions, please leave it in the comment section. We'll come back and answer them. And if you are enjoying the session, please leave your comments to let us know that you are with us. So Adebisi, you can go on. Okay, so the question people always ask us is, what material should I use? You can share the screen. Yes, I've already explained everything here. So that's why we won't go through this particular one. But yes, I've already explained this as well. So yeah, you can stop here. So if you check the ICAN pack, the ICAN pack is very voluminous. So we encourage you to use video lectures for your exams. So should you therefore not use the ICAN pack? No, that's not what we are saying. Use the video lecture and go through it at least 2 times before the exam. When you have time, and when you still have enough time, then you can add the ICAN pack or any other material. I don't have the ICAN pack by me here, but if in the skill level you are doing the 5 papers, for instance, or 6 papers, if you are doing that, you see, I think CSME is about 1,000 pages, if I'm not mistaken. That's huge. That's huge. Now, if you use video to study, you will cut your study time. You will save 60% of your time if you use video to study. Why? Because somebody is explaining to you, unlike when you are reading on your own. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go for physical classes. Go if you have the time. But if you don't have time, then don't go. Use the video lecture. So I will stop by giving this storyline. About 10 years ago, when we started running, no, 12 years ago, when we started running ICAN classes, we were running the physical classes, right? Then before we introduce the digital class, because we're the pioneer, we're the first person tuition house that started it in Nigeria and in Africa. Yes, because as at that time we're the only one that have the video lecture for ACCA, right? All right. So for and the same thing for ICAN and ATS before we expand into WAEC and all others. So what we found out is that when our students come for the physical classes, the number of people that pass is lesser than those who use our digital class. And then we find out, we start asking questions. This was our findings. We found out that those who come for physical classes, sometimes for genuine reason, they can't come for classes, maybe because it rains, maybe because there was traffic, maybe because they travel, maybe for their job, maybe because they even travel for social events. But the reality is that when you miss physical classes, no lecturer is going to repeat it for you. Adebisi, is that correct? If you miss physical classes, no lecturer is going to repeat your class for you. All right. That is, yeah, if I'm wrong, you can put it down in the comment boxes, right? So no lecturer. So we now found out that those who got our video lectures then were more successful. Why? Because they don't have to miss classes. They can watch it on Android devices. They can watch it on, that's if they are in traffic, when they are going to, when they travel, when they are in their hotel, when they are in the office, anywhere they are. And they can also put it in their, on their desktop, anywhere they are as well. So, like I said, we found out that they were more successful. That's what did we do as a result of that? We shut down our physical classes. We stopped running physical classes since then till date. And if you check the statistics, Starry Good Academy have the highest success rate in ICAN. The highest success rate in ICAN. And we contact our students at the end of each diet and we take these statistics. As per the number of people who got our video lecture, we record 80% success rate. So if you don't have the video lecture, go get it, right? So the number on your screen is what you should call, or you send a WhatsApp, or you send a text message, anyone you do, right? If you call and it is a weekend or a Saturday or a Sunday or in the night, depending on when you are joining us or watching the replay, if nobody responds, we're going to respond during working hour the following day, right? We're going, if you send a WhatsApp, we're going to respond to you. We're going to contact you back. So now, another reason why you should get the video lecture is that if you have been going through some music that you don't like and you have been listening to it over and over, after some time, the music will start playing back in your mind. Even when you make no effort to remember it, the music will start playing back in your mind. So it's the same thing when you go through the video lecture at least 2 times before the exam. This is what our student tells us, that in the exam, once they see a similar question that the lecturer have treated in the video, then they start hearing the voice of the lecturer reading the answers to them. And somebody will say, wow, that is amazing. Yes, it's a simple educational psychology that when you listen to something over and over and over, after a while, it will start playing back. So when you use video lecture, it helps your recall. You can recall back easily in the exam hall. So that's why I would like to stop today. If you have a question, leave it in the chat box, and then we will go and answer them. So, Adebisi, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. So, if you have a comment, please put it in the comment section as well and tell us how we have done. Thank you very, very much for your time. Those of you who have created the time to come and join us today. So, on that note, I want to end the webinar. There's no question here. All right. So, leave a reaction there. Let it not be that we're just the only one. Yeah, Adebisi, you can, yes. Leave a reaction in the comment section. Let's see. Yeah, just to be sure you are here with us. Yeah, leave a reaction. Let me say thank you. I hope. Uh, all right, they say thanks so much. All right, that means you find value in what we have done. That's very good. Is there any other reaction for us? Is there any other reaction? Yes, I'm waiting for us there. Okay, let me say thanks so much. All right. So thank you. So remember to share the link with others that couldn't make it. And you can also rewatch this session. Once we end it now, you can go back and rewatch it. Thank you, everyone. Adebisi, I don't know if you have anything to say to our audience before we go.
Um, I think we've discussed everything with in the course of the webinar. So I just wish every one of you best of luck in the examination, and I look forward to seeing you in professional class next time.
All right.
By
Okay.
God's
So, like,
grace.
thank you very much. So what I didn't remember to mention about the video lecture is that the video lecture has three parts. The lecture videos, then the more than 12 diet past question and answers that we have solved there, and the question from the ICAN pack that we have picked and solved there. So it's the most comprehensive material you can find, and we update them every diet. So on that note, I want to say thank you. Okpeyemi say, when is case study web? Okay. Case study will be coming up later today. So if you have registered, obviously, check the Telegram page. We have another one for 5 p.m. and another one for 7 p.m. today. All right. On that note, have a good day, everyone, and bye.